All right, Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is an old friend of mine from back in the 90s. He was in a couple bands. One of them was called Lipstick, and the other one was Concrete Rattle. My guest today is a phenomenal frontman, a great vocalist, Mr. Jimmy Hoffa Burnette. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. And you said the weather's good over there today?
Yeah, it's pretty hot, 90, well, typical Nashville weather, man.
It's supposed to be that way, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, let's get started here. Tell me a little bit about this group, Lipstick, what you guys did, kind of where you play, that kind of thing.
Oh, well, I met those guys. We were playing out. I was in a band actually in Louisville, Kentucky, and the drummer, Darren, I hooked up with him. He came down and saw us play, and he said, well, why don't you come to Ohio and, try out for our band, and I was like, the guys I was playing with before, they were getting ready to disband and do something else. And I said, well, sure. So I drove up there, took a chance, and we started playing. We played the scene a lot, played a lot of covers. We were definitely a glam band, that's for sure. We were very glam, very glam.
What scene were you talking about? Whereabouts did you play?
We played all over the Midwest. We went to places like Iowa, Chicago, Florida, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, we played a lot. I mean, we used to play 5 days a week. 3 sets a night, 3 1-hour sets. That was the business back then. It was so topsy turvy back then. You could make really good money and try to make a good living off of it, but equipment rentals and stuff like that. Touring. It was a lot of touring.
Well, what was the agency you worked with that booked you on these tours?
Actually, the drummer's dad did it.
Oh.
And I forget the name of his booking company. I think it was like Schneider Booking or something. So he set up a lot of it. It was word of mouth and sending out some cassette tapes, believe it or not, and pictures. I had the pictures.
Right.
You go to these places and you see all these cool bands that played there, like Kicks and all the, Cincinnati especially. Cincinnati was really a hot spot to play. Great place to play.
Now, you said you played mostly covers. Were you doing some originals too?
We did. We had a cassette tape, and it had, I think, 3 songs on it. But we started, as further along as we got, I started getting more involved with our guitar player and saying, hey, let's write. And we've eventually got Dave into the band from Detroit, which it'll lead into the next Concrete Rattle thing. He played with us for a while, and we started writing a lot more originals.
Wow.
So.
Now, you said Lipstick was mostly like a glam band. What were some of what kind of glam material you talk about? What groups were you playing?
Oh, we were doing, it was kind of weird because, I liked the kind of alternative 120-minute stuff. So we were doing like Balaam and the Angel, and we were doing Faster Pussycat. We were doing, typical Poison. We were doing some Sea Hags.
Wow. That's all
stuff
cool stuff.
Yeah, we were trying to do something different because every band, would come in there and play the same set list.
Right.
We were doing the Cult. We were doing some Saxon. Stuff like. It wasn't really a glam band, but Saxon was like one of those bands that that typical type stuff. We try to keep it fresh. There's different bands. Love and Rockets. We did some Love and Rockets. So it was pretty diverse.
Yeah, I was going to say you were pretty much all over the board. Did you have any kind of like stage show going on? Anything like choreographed as far as this? Oh,
no, we didn't really choreograph. We just went out there and played. But, I jumped around a lot. I had a lot of energy back then. And, it was a pretty good stage show. We had a good light show. Of course, we had the guy liner and, the pink Aquanet. You can't go without the pink Aquanet, bro. So, It was full theatrics, it was pretty fun.
So you had mentioned Cincinnati. Can you remember any places that you played that any stories from the road?
Trying to remember that one club that was outside of Cincinnati. I can't really remember the name of it, but it was a pretty big club, and like a lot of big acts would play there, like Helix and all these type bands. Kicks played there. Oh, I know. It was like there's some other big acts too. It was like I think Motorhead played there once or twice. So it was pretty big venue, and to get in there, you had to warm up people. So
right, of course,
we go in there and warm up these really kick butt bands. And our guys were like, well, "Should we play covers?" I'm like, "Well, no, we should be playing originals." So that's what we did.
So you got to see a lot of these bands then, right? Because you were opening for them.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. One thing I remember, we played this little bar. It was in Dayton, Ohio. It's called Scuffy's. We played with Humble Pie, and I'll never forget seeing Steve Marriott. Now, this is a true story. He was sitting there, and he was just totally twisted, dude. I mean, twisted. And I'm like, this guy's not going to go on. And bro, he put on that Les Paul and just wailed. I will never forget that. My guys in the band, we were like, "Are you kidding me, man?" He was incredible, man. It was pretty much an honor to play with him, and he was a good guy too. But he was pretty twisted that night.
Yeah. Well, I heard he was pretty twisted most nights.
Yeah.
Do you remember by any chance, like, what album or what tour he would have been promoting at that time? Early
I really
90s?
don't know. I mean, I think he was doing all the old stuff, you know, off the first two albums. Yeah.
Was he doing like "Fool for a Pretty Face," any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, he was doing. Yes, he was doing that, and yeah, he was doing the really bluesy stuff. It was.
Oh yeah.
It really inspired me because I'm like, man, this cat can just flat out write and sing. I was like, and play guitar. I was like, you know.
Yeah. He is a great front man. I saw them. I saw them twice around that era and all that. Unfortunately, didn't get to see them in their heyday.
English, baby.
Oh,
he's English.
God,
you know,
English, big time English.
I'll tell you, the guys across the pond. That. I mean, it's amazing.
Have you ever been across the pond?
Several times.
Really?
Several times. Yes.
Playing?
We never went over there to play. I went over there to visit. I wanted to see the music scene over there, and I went to London, and I went to Germany, and I went to Italy. There's a lot of good stoner bands over there. It's just something I wanted to go see, you know.
Was that around that same time in the 90s?
A little bit earlier, yeah, about mid 90s and stuff. I mean, I saved up a little bit of money, and me and a buddy of mine wanted to go over there, and we stayed in some hostels and stuff, and did some crazy stuff, you know, because we wanted to go see Europe. Because you know, it's kind of my fancy. If I ever get a chance to retire, when that day comes, I thought about Europe. I really like it over there.
Anywhere particular you had in mind?
I liked Italy. Wow. Italy's pretty cool. London's great, but it's kind of like being in New York City, you know. Yeah. It takes getting used to, but
sure. Okay, let's move up a little bit and talk about Concrete Rattle. How did Concrete Rattle come about? How did you get started with that band?
Well, I was actually in Pontiac at the time. I met JT at this little bar, and we were sitting there talking and stuff and having a few beers, and he goes, "Hey man, I play guitar." I said, "Well, hey, I was in band, I sang, I just came off the road." And he was like, "Hey, you want to get something together?" I'm like, "Okay." So he came over with his acoustic guitar, started writing, and we started playing. We moved from Pontiac to Westland, Michigan, and we met Pete, and then we got Dave. I called Dave, our bass player, and said, "Hey dude, I got some good cats you want to play with," and Rob Miller. Right. You know, Rob got in the band with us, and that's how it started.
Well, if that's how it started, how did Lipstick end then? I mean, that sounded like that was a good money gig. It
was. But you know, I really, to be honest with you, I got tired of doing it because we were touring so much, and we really were playing just cover music, and I really wanted to get into the original scene. I mean, that was what the joy gave me, because I'm like, that's great that we're playing all these cool songs, but how about if we write some stuff, you know?
Right.
So, and when we went to Detroit, when I moved to Michigan, I was like, man, this music scene here is great. You know, we saw some really kick-ass bands. You know, when I first saw Seduce and them guys, I was like, wow, you know, I'm like, okay, you better put your A game on now. So that's pretty much what happened.
So where are you originally from then? Are you originally from Tennessee?
No, actually, I was originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and there was a huge music scene in Louisville. It was great there, so I played in some little bands there. You know, we never really did too much. And then I met Darren, the drummer, in Lipstick, and I moved to Ohio, and then I moved to Detroit. So it was pretty crazy.
Mention again who the members were in Concrete Rattle, just so refresh our memories here.
It would be JT Monroe, Peter Falk, Dave.
Davis?
Dave Black. He went by Dave Black, but it's David.
Dave Black, the same name as David Black from Seduce?
Yeah, he went David Black or David Black 2 or something. I forget his last name. Yeah, but I know. I got dementia. I'm 61.
Hey, I'm 61 too,
Rob
man.
Miller. Yeah. Take Privilegin. Yeah, here we go.
So Concrete Rattle gets going and stuff, and I imagine you're out playing the club scene and all that. And how did that go? How did you guys go over as far as that from your memories?
it's kind of funny because when you play the Token Lounge, Murderers Row, you've been there.
Right.
The guys that are recording every weekend and never playing the show. When we first came out, we were kind of bluesy. We were kind of in between, kind of like I won't say glam and all that. We really weren't that. We were just more like the gypsy looking type of band,
Yeah.
Edging on that cult bang tango look, people kind of looked at us like, what do these guys look like? What are they going to do? A bunch of, pretty boys with long hair and, we could play, so, I mean,
well, you were definitely a pretty boy. I don't know about the rest, but you definitely were.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You had a definite look.
It's all the exfoliant that I use on my face, so I wouldn't look my age, so, yeah.
But you had such nice hair, man. You always had good hair.
Well, it's not long. I've still got it. I'm proud of it. It hasn't gone, it's going gray now, but everybody's going to let it go gray. I'm like, well, yeah, I've earned it,
I've earned it. Well, I know quite a few guys from your age and your background that dye it, so you wouldn't consider dyeing it to keep that youthful look?
Nah. No sense in that.
You're not that vain?
No, I never really was. I just had long hair, I guess, because being a Native American, and you're French Canadian, right?
Yes.
Well, my mother's French and Shawnee, so it's,
So
I guess we have good gene pool going on, I guess.
Yeah. You said you're Native American. What specifically?
Lakota Sioux. My dad was originally from out west, and my mom was from she was from Kentucky and stuff. So it was, yeah.
So how do I say this? What percentage of American Indian are you?
Oh, I'd say I'm at least 45 to 50. Yeah, I had a card, so I don't have one now.
Did any of your family in the past, the grandparents or anything, live on a reservation or anything like that?
Yes, which is funny you said that, because when I got to a particular age, when I wanted to know about my culture, because music had always, enticed me, I went back and learned my culture, went to the sweat tent, did the whole thing, learned the language, put it into Concrete Rattle's music. I started writing more stuff. And towards the end of the Rattle, that was more, I wanted to bring that indigenous sound to Concrete Rattle. We started doing it, and then, it didn't work out because some of it, they were like, well, how are we going to do this?
Well, it seemed, from what I remember, it seemed very, I don't know if it's tribal, I'm trying to say, but it had that kind of vibe, that spiritual kind of vibe and that kind of look for sure. You guys had a great stage presence, great stage show as far as that, without getting, flash pots and all that. It was really effective.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought, when Rob played with us and stuff, we were under, him and I were just like, hey, let the music do the talking pretty much.
Right.
Let's go out there and play and leave it out on the table, all of us, So that's what you had to do. I especially being in Detroit, because there are just so many great bands there.
Right.
And it was just like, you know what? If you're going to play, you're going to have to come and you're going to have to kick some ass. You're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
What
were some of your favorite clubs to play here in the Detroit area?
Oh, man, there's two clubs I remember right off the bat, was Finney's Pub and Blondie's. I love those two clubs. I don't know why they were small. I know that Blondie's had a lot of, just hardcore bands in there and, punk bands and all kinds of... I just love the diversity of Blondie's. Same with Finney's Pub. It was a great little place. Killer bands would play there, and it just had all kinds of diverse music. I mean, I like playing... We played St. Andrew's Hall a couple times, but, I like... Those two clubs really stuck out in my mind.
Now,
Harpo's was fun, but it was...
Where was this Vinny's Pub located? Do you remember where that was?
I think it was downtown. It was near Greektown, I believe. Or it was in Birmingham. I think it was in Birmingham.
Oh, okay. Well, Birmingham is some upper level stuff, man.
Well, that's what they say. It's Yuppieville, like it is here in Nashville, on Germantown. That's what it is. That's where the Yuppies go,
Exactly. Is that where you're at now, where the Yuppies go?
No, I'm actually in the blue collar part of Smyrna, Tennessee. I would compare it to Westland, Michigan, or Dearborn Heights.
Oh, okay.
It's blue collar town.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that vibe, because I've always thought of myself as a blue collar person. When I first moved to Nashville, I was in Spring Hill. That's kind of like the Franklin, the uppity. It just wasn't my vibe.
Yeah,
it just wasn't my vibe.
Do you still have? You mentioned earlier that you were originally from Kentucky. But do you still have family in Kentucky?
Yeah, I've got a younger brother there, and I talk to him all the time. And he's always asking me, he goes, man, remember the day when we played all these clubs and what? I'm like, yeah.
You were playing in the band with your brother?
No, I mean he worked for us. He was a roadie.
Oh.
So he goes, you remember when we did all this stuff?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man. And then when we went to Detroit, he came out and saw us play in Detroit. I think he saw us at the Studio Lounge.
Oh,
And
okay.
you know, the Studio Lounge was always fun to play, man.
Oh,
that was just like, oh, dude, that was. So he got out there and he got a little twisted. He was like, "You guys are great." I'm like, "Well, we'll see how that goes." You know, I'm like, "We're okay."
Speaking of the club scene here and stuff, that you know I went out to. How did you feel the sound was at these places as far as the monitors? Did you have any issues with the monitors?
It depended on who was running him, really. I mean, I thought that sometimes I'd sing without monitors. Just I would just, you know, kind of lean over and listen to the PA. You know, I wasn't one of these type guys that like, "Hey man, you put reverb in there and the thing on it with my voice." I'm just like, I wanted to hear it straight through the monitor. But I mean, wasn't too bad. Sometimes at the studio it got a little bit muffly. I thought.
Yeah.
Now I thought Blondie's had a really good sound system. I thought Token was pretty good.
Well, the weird thing about it was in those days, you know, unless you were a major headline band like, you know, Seduce, like you had mentioned, you were really at the liberty of whoever was running the sound, unless you had your own sound man. Did you guys have your own sound man?
Pete knew this guy, and I forget his name. I think it was Dave something, but he'd come out and run for us. He was fairly cheap. Dude, he knew our sound, and he would come out and he mixed it very well, very well. So we were very fortunate.
Important. Yeah, that's very important because, you know, like I said, most of these places, the Token is majorly famous for that. You know, if you don't flip them a bill here or there or whatever, or be able to bring in your own sound man, they're going to set the monitors and walk. You won't see them again. And it's not so much hearing yourself, but if there's any kind of feedback issue, that could really defeat a performance or make it harder. Because it was always, to me, like, you could always hear the drums and the bass. You know, that was never... But the vocals are always a tough thing. But I understand what you're saying, you know, kind of lean forward a little bit, get used to listening through the mains. And, you know, being the kind of singer you were, I'm sure that you were tight on your material. You knew it anyway, so you could get through it.
Well, yeah, the whole thing about it is you know, you take care of your pipes, and sometimes you had equipment failure where you couldn't really hear, so you had to go out there and kick ass, and it's just like, just sing, you know, just stay in your groove, you know. The show, you know, which you can't make up maybe with the sound, they're looking at the show, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's, if you're into it, the audience is into it. I mean, you know. Yeah,
well, you were always moving around quite a bit, and you're a pretty tall guy. What are you, like 6'2" or something?
6'3", yeah, 6'3".
6'3", bare chested.
Well, I mean, that was a prerequisite in the band, you know, when Rob was in there. He was the smaller guy, but the rest of us were like, we look like a bunch of Yetis chewing on trees, you know. And here's Robert. Rob looks like he's, you know, ready to come out of the Shire or something, make sure we're not chewing on trees, you know.
That's true, because I think he's like 5'6" or 5'7" tops. Yeah, you guys.
I told him, I said, "Can't you stand on that box or something, man?" No, I'm just kidding.
Get some Kiss boots.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, get those platforms.
Yeah. Did you have any favorite outfits you'd like to wear and stuff to look sexy for the ladies?
Oh, man. Oh, let me see. Rob's got a picture of me in assless chaps, which I'm like, great.
Yeah, he told me about that. He said, if you want to be a lead vocalist, you got to be willing to bear it all.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, I know. See how easily influenced I am, man?
Yeah, but you were able to pull it off. You know, that's the whole thing.
Well, it's when that first happened, I was like nervous as hell, man. I was like, I'm like, seriously, guys, I really don't want to do this. And I'm dead serious. I'm like, they're like, come on, man, do it. This is rock and roll. I'm like, well, you guys aren't doing it.
I'm
like, you guys aren't doing
it. You're the vocal point, man. You're the star, more or less.
Well, I told Rob to do it, but he said he had pimples on his ass, so I didn't want to, you know.
Did he tell you had to shave your ass before you did it?
Yeah, shave his ass like a monkey. Yeah. I'm like, why am I doing this? But I did it because I didn't care. I was stupid. You know, I mean, it was one of those things to do. You know, I was like, hell, they're either going to, you know, and then a lot of the dudes that played in bands judge, oh, he's got assless chaps on. What's wrong with that guy? Is he a fag? Or what's going on with that guy? I'm like, okay, you know.
Yeah, but you're not out there to impress other musicians. You're out there to entertain. You're out
right. It's not like I had an OnlyFans page and it's going to be successul, you know.
I mean, if it's good enough for David Lee Roth, man, anybody can do it, right? Why not?
Well, Dave was the show guy, you know. He's the guy that really started it all, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jim.
Well, actually, I guess you could say the New York Dolls, because David Johansen did it. The New York Dolls. So I mean, you know, that was kind of
They did a lot of crazy
Johnny
stuff.
Thunders and all them guys. They were crazy, man.
Yes.
You know, which takes me to another cool band that I really like. They're Trash Brats.
Oh yeah,
they were
Ricky.
cool, very cool band.
Yes, a lot of fun. He still plays like crazy all over town.
And the Meanies. I remember the Meanies. Yeah.
After Chuck left and went and joined Megadeth when he was playing with Megadeth, I'm not sure if they reformed or not. Anyway, so Concrete Rattle playing out, doing fairly well for yourselves. You know, getting into the scene. You record a demo or the EP. I don't know. Was it considered a demo to you guys, or was it just an EP?
I would say it's probably more of a demo. Financial wise, I mean, we were strapped to get it done. Of course, like you said, you're always going to hear the bass and the drums and the guitars. So the vocals were like basically one take. Hey, well, Jimmy, can you do these in one take? I'm like, sure. Thanks for saving me a little space.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No overdubs for the vocals. No overdubs.
Yeah, just go for it. Yeah.
Do you remember where you recorded that?
I was somewhere in Livonia. I can't. It was at this guy's house, and I can't remember his name. But,
in Livonia.
I don't know if it was Livonia or Westland. It's over by or Garden City. I don't remember.
Rob seen the White Room or someplace in Ann Arbor.
That was the other one. That was Physics of Fear.
Oh.
But we did one earlier that he put on YouTube not too long ago. That had Fallen Off the Wagon and that had Save My Soul on it.
Yeah.
But Physics of Fear had Walking Away on it. It had the Indian song, you know, the one I wrote. Yeah.
And that was Concrete Rattle stuff?
Yeah. I still got a cassette of that. Thank God I got a buddy that can burn a CD, because I never had, when I left the band, I never had got a CD. We never had a CD. We had cassette tapes.
Right,
so I was like, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that. That one demo or EP that you guys did, of course, I put that online.
Well, thank you. You got the early one. I wish you had the other one, because the other one, I think in that gist of the band, that's where I think our sound was. That was the route we were going, to a good route with that one.
Well, I thought the first one was really, really well done. It sounded really cool, especially having to do it in, like you said, one take and very limited funds.
Yeah.
I think it turned out pretty good.
Well, we wanted to do it too. And I told everybody, I said, look, man, I want to do this, but I want to keep it to where when they come and see us live, because we were more of I've always thought we were a live band, better live band than actually a studio band, I thought. You know, this young lady that I was dating at the time, she goes, God, you guys sound so much better live than you do in the studio. And I'm like, when we went in there, I was like, let's just keep it live, dude.
Yeah.
Let's just try to keep it, mix what you got to mix, but let's keep it live. Yeah.
It did have that sound and stuff. Like I said, when you mentioned earlier, a little bit of the Cult, and with a little bit maybe more rootsy or bluesy rock.
He was a huge like Sabbath, Stones guy. He liked Page, you know.
Right.
I like Ian and you know, the Doors and stuff like that. Screaming Trees, Mark Lanigan, one of my favorite artists. I like that lower register. Rob always told me, he goes, dude, your lower register, and he was right. When you're in a band, you're like, well, I got to put some high parts in because they're not going to think I'm a good singer. I'm like, don't ever think that. Just do your gig, man. You know?
Exactly. But I mean, you were able to pull that off really well, though. I mean, you know, you hit those notes and all that, and you made it look natural. So, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. I guess it's a balance. You just got to find a balance with it.
But you said before that we were kind of like, your voice got a little bit of Mark Slaughter. I'm like, that's good, bad. You know, it's like, cool.
Yeah, I said Mark Slaughter, Ian Asbury. I think you looked like Mark Slaughter, but with longer hair. You know, you had that very pretty boy. I don't want to say pretty boy, but good-looking guy. You're right. Good looking pretty boy.
You can say pretty boy because you're right. Because you know, Mr. Slaughter does live in Nashville now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
but it's funny because the last time I saw them when they were here and all that, I didn't even recognize them during sound check.
I mean, he need to look that good. I don't know. He did a little bit. Well, we're all getting older. I mean, come on.
Of course. I mean, he looked fine once the show came on and stuff. He had his hair all done up and stuff. But yeah, we're all getting older, is right. You know, he's got to be right around the same age as us.
Oh, yeah. I think so. Oh, yeah.
So what basically happened with Concrete Rattle?
Well, we played some shows and we tried to put some stuff out, and you know, we were in Kerrang! Magazine, and I think it got to a point where some of us had a different view of what we thought music was supposed to be about.
Right.
And I saw it going in a direction that I wasn't, I want to say not comfortable with. It was something I felt like, well, we kind of had that little, you know, they kind of had that little, well, you know, hey, we're in Concrete Rattle, we're this and this. And I'm like, we haven't even done anything yet. I like to stay the humble type guy. That's I know on stage it looks like I'm cocky or whatever, but I'm really truly not. I'm very grounded when it comes to stuff like that. So I wanted to make the music a little bit different. I wanted it to be a little bit more alternative and go towards, go that way. And it was, I guess it made some people uncomfortable.
Did they want to go more on a hard, more an alternative vein?
Pretty much. They wanted to keep the blues roots, which we could have, but I was like, well, let's try this and experiment with this or do this. And like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to make my guitar or my drums sound like the bass, or we're going to play the bass like this. I'm like, because I was trying to sing different stuff.
Right.
Like I don't want to say like Black Flag, but more, I don't know. It's like if you hear the Cult and then you hear like the Smiths or you hear like the Cure or you hear, I just wanted a different sound. What was a good example to me, and I told these guys this, we went and saw a band. You remember the band Loud House?
Oh yeah.
When I first heard them, I'm like, man, they kind of sound like Jane's Addiction. But then when they went to Sponge, I'm like, that's a cool sound because they have that kind of a psychedelic furs type vibe to his voice. And I'm like, I like that. I'm like, he's changing. Right. You're trying to evolve the band. Some people were uncomfortable with it. Then Dave left and we got Joe in the band. And then it was just, it wasn't the same after that. It was just kind of like, we're trying to piece stuff together and it didn't really, really work that well.
That's too bad because, you guys had a solid sound, a very good look. You guys were always big on stage, like you said, you were tall. At least you kept that image especially strong after Rob left the band. And we're not going to go into that because I know that makes Bill a little uncomfortable about that whole decision.
When Rob got in, Bent Lucy and Tension Splash and all that, and those bands were absolutely kick-ass. And I was like, that's just part of the Detroit scene. I mean, all these players, there's so many good players there and just so many good bands. Yeah, well, I was proud to be a part of that scene, Yeah,
I remember asked Rob a number of times if he had considered you as part of the Bent Lucy band, because I think you would have fit in well with that, too.
Actually, when I got up and played with a guy, you remember the band Head Factory? So I got up there at the Studio Lounge one night, we just got up and did improv. And Rob's like, dude, there you go. That's the band. You need to get in that band. And I probably should have. I was thinking about it, and then we moved to Tennessee. I moved to Tennessee, but I was like, I talked to Andy Furta, and I was like, dude, I really like this. We're writing some really cool shit, and it's really different. And that was probably out of everything, even though Concrete Rattle has its success, I think that band would have been very cool. Should have made that move.
So what was the reason then at that time that you did move to Tennessee? Was it a financial situation? Why did you think you chose?
No, at the time I was like the young lady that I was dating, and I've been with her for a while. Her family was in Tennessee, and we kept coming back and forth to Tennessee. And liked it here, liked the weather. I was like, hey, it's a fresh start. And so we had to, she worked for the VA hospital, so we had to move to Birmingham, which that was kind of crazy. And then we were driving every weekend to come to Nashville, and then she finally got transferred to Nashville, so moved to Nashville, and then I've been here ever since.
Now, have you played any bands down there at all? I mean, you've been down there for quite a few years. Have you been in any bands down there?
No, I haven't really. I dabble a little bit with writing now. Like I said, I've been picking up the bass, playing a little bit, trying to learn some chops and licks and writing some stuff. But no, I haven't really. I'm still into music and I still watch a lot of it. And there's a lot of good bands here, but no, I didn't really dabble with it too much. No.
And why was that? I mean, you're a natural talent. Is it because of family obligations, or?
Well, I got a son now. I mean, he's a big sports guy. He's 13, but I mean, he's all about, Dad, you need to get in a band. I'm like, well, you're playing tennis every weekend or soccer, and then hey. But I mean, I probably could. It's just finding the right guys to get with.
Right.
Because everybody down here, you got to pay them. Oh, I'm a session guy. You got to pay me. I'm like, how about if we write together and get something going? Well, you got to pay me.
Really?
That's kind of what Nashville's like. It's kind of like, really, dude? I'm like, okay.
I mean, there's no local scene where musicians looking for musicians to start bands.
There is, but it's very centralized because I live like maybe 15 minutes away from downtown Nashville, but downtown Nashville is like Vegas on steroids.
Oh, geez.
It is, Jimmy. It is absolutely crazy, dude. It's just like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's just nuts. Trying to find good people, it's you got to go to the smaller clubs. They're building all these big high rises and stuff, and a lot of the smaller clubs are getting pushed out. Exit in, Cannery Ballroom. This is where you see all these really cool bands that were like in Detroit. They're seeming to push them out, or they're making different clubs, and the yuppies are going that way with this type of music, and it's shit ton of country, which is it's okay, but I'm just not into that. I haven't really looked.
Right. That's too bad, man, because, I think a guy like you should be performing in one way or another. Go solo, set up a karaoke thing or something. Show off that talent.
So you got to go to Santa's Pub if you do that. That's where all the heavy hitters go.
There you go.
So it's like this, it looks like this double wide trailer, and you go in there, and all these great singers are there. So one night we were in there, this wasn't too long ago. So people were in there karaokeing. Guess who walks up on stage? Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran walks right up there and sings.
Oh, no,
like, what? It was crazy, man. I was like, that guy, that's Ed Sheeran, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, okay.
So what did he do? Moni or something?
I don't know. He did a David Bowie song.
Oh, wow. So
I think
did you get up there and sing too?
Well, I was earlier in the night. It was like, yeah, I did a couple songs. I did a couple of Screaming Trees songs. So, I'm like, let's go up there and do Screaming Trees. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do I Nearly Lost You. I'm going to do something. And the guy goes, wow, I haven't heard that song. So I'm going to get up and do it. And I mean, it feels good. I mean, it's good, but I still sing a lot and I play here at the house, but
right.
I don't, do it full time,
Yeah, I understand. It goes on and all that.
Yeah.
But when you're a talent like you are, and I know you can still sing, I'm sure you wouldn't, because I know you probably take care of yourself as you sing.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to give that up, man. You shouldn't give that up.
That's one of those things, like when we were playing in Detroit, those guys always got on me. I'm like, hey, man, I got to get up and stay in shape and run, and then I'll come to practice and do this. And it just really helps. Because if you're going to put on that type of show, you want to stay in shape and try to give the audience what you can give them, It's like painting the pictures like art. So you got to paint that picture, but you got to make sure you use the right colors,
right.
Because you don't want them to go, what is wrong with that guy? AKA Vince Neil, but I won't get into that one.
So at least you said you're starting to do a little bit of writing. And you said you're doing it on bass, so you've got a buddy down there that you're doing this with?
Well, a buddy of mine, his name's Kyle B. He does some stuff on YouTube. He reminds me a lot of Rob. He's got this really technical side of him, but he's just got this crazy, just like really ambient type sound, and it's like I really dig it. And we've been sitting down and writing some stuff. He's been writing on the acoustic, and I've been picking up the bass and stuff, and he's showing me some stuff to make me a better player. But I told him, I said, well, when you do this, you're going to have to sing some of the stuff, too, because you wrote this. Or he's like, well, I don't want to sing, you do it. I'm like, well, I'm playing the bass and singing it. So, I mean, that's one thing about playing now. If you write the bass part, you got to sing it.
Yeah, so, it's a little trickier, but I'm sure you'll get it down. You'll get it down.
I'll try.
Yeah, just, be patient with yourself. And don't give up.
Well, the whole thing is, why would you pick up a bass at 61? But you know what? I guess it keeps... it keeps him from getting dementia, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Sure. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep those fingers moving, because otherwise, arthritis will set in. Then you'll really be bumming.
Yeah. That
other recording you said you had on cassette that somebody.
Well, I don't know if Rob's got it or not. I don't. It's called Physics of Fear, and it's got. I think it's got 5 songs on it. But wow. I mean, that was the antithesis of Concrete Rattle. I think that when the band's going that way, it was really good at that stage of it.
Did you guys get that out at all? I don't mean to record labels, but was it available at your shows at all? Or
yeah, we sold out of every one of them. We played Milwaukee and Chicago, and we'd sell them. We played, they were gone. And I was like, Pete, can you at least keep me one copy? And I don't have one. Right. So I finally got one.
Well, I gotta have to get with Rob or get one for you so we can get it on YouTube. Everybody's digging that Concrete Rattle one I have. The funny thing about this is I didn't have it either. I probably had it back in the day, and then moving, I lost it, like so much stuff. So I lifted it off a guy on YouTube, and Rob heard it, and he goes, wow, man, there's commercials on there. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So wherever I lifted it from, there was commercials in between each song, and I didn't notice it.
Well, I played it for my buddies. They were like, which one are you? I said, the guy pointing. And they're like, that's you? I'm like, well, yeah.
Well, that's a great cover. It's almost like you had a gun in your hand. Isn't that what you were doing?
Oh, good Lord. We can't say that now, can we?
Well, I mean, back then you could.
If you say that now, we won't be politically correct.
Yeah,
but that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, God forbid. I want to thank you so much for your time. I'm hoping to have this out real soon, because got a lot of people interested in hearing from you. Hope you continue to do well with your family and all that. Get that bass going, man. Get some tunes written. Hopefully we'll hear some more from the...
I got a few out there. I got a few things brewing, I guess. Yeah.
Well, keep up the good work, man.
Appreciate it.
Miss you. All right, buddy.
You too.
You take care, and we'll talk to you soon. And as I like to say, keep rocking.